Yo guys, welcome back to Erebos Gaming HD. So this gameplay is just going to be background, just something to see in the background. I was Mike Tyson, the guy was Ali, and then he switched to Tyson in the last second. I don't really know why he did, but he did anyway. But it's not going to be about the gameplay, this is going to be about the topic. And what I want to talk today about is the fact that Fight Night as a series has actually been halted by EA Sports, and there's a few sources on the internet that you can check out that say that they aren't developing the next Fight Night, at least at the moment, and all of their development team that used to be on Fight Night are currently working on the new UFC. In all fairness, the new UFC does look pretty good on the next gen. It looks incredible, to be honest with you. The way that they've done it, but Fight Night Champion was released in 2010, and coming in, we're in 2014 now, and you think in 4 years they could have had a smaller development team and at least had something on the horizon for Fight Night on the next gen. I mean, there's still a big crowd that want to see the boxing game, and that's something that I wanted to touch on today. So what I'm trying to figure out is why they would sort of put all of their eggs in one basket with UFC. Now, part of my thinking is obviously UFC is more popular with the younger crowd. Boxing's more, for people maybe 20s, 30s and above, older people that have maybe grew up with boxing, grew up with people like Mike Tyson and things like that, and gotten into it through their parents and whatever. But with UFC, it's popular with kids, a lot of young kids in my area, going to like MMA classes and stuff like that. So I can understand why they're appealing to the younger crowd. There's a stereotype, obviously, that gamers are younger, and I don't think that's true necessarily. I mean, we're quite a mature gaming channel, to be fair. Most of us are over 18 anyway. So, like I say, why are they sort of moving on to UFC now? What we need to look at is with Fight Night Champion as a whole, you've got a big fan base. There's still lots of people that play this. It's not hard to get a game. You can jump on here and you can just get a game straight away. Now, it's not the fact that that there isn't one on the horizon as such. Obviously, that is a bit of a bummer. But what my problem is that they've hardly patched the game in so long. I can't even remember the last patch that they did. They do tuner sets and stuff like that, but they haven't released any new boxes or anything like that. Any new game modes, which they could have easily have done in the few years that it's been out. Floyd Mayweather isn't even on this game. You need to download him from the online side of things, and I think that is just ridiculous. I'm not like a massive Floyd Mayweather fan or anything like that, but he is a very well-known boxer. He's probably the most successful boxer, of our generation, at least, if not of all. He's the most wealthy, and he should be in the game. In a boxing game, it's the latest boxing game, Fight Night Champion, and it hasn't got boxers like that in it. And that would put me off if I was a boxing fan and I brought this game now and I was into the current boxers. When you're playing something like this, you'd be like, where are they? Why haven't they done a more recent version? And it's not really excusable from a company as big as EA Sports. They should have enough money to cover the costs of working on a Fight Night, or updates for Fight Night at least. They should be able to cover those sort of costs. As big a company as EA Sports is, they've got their fingers in all sorts of pies. There's the American football, and unless you're American, and then they've got football games, they've got the soccer games. You've got all these different branches of EA, and there's not one sort of team that looks and goes, maybe we should work on another Fight Night. Looking at some of the stats, I mean, these are unconfirmed stats, but these are like week 1 sales from VGCharts.com, and looking at them in the first week, Fight Night Champion sold 151,000 on Xbox 360 and 124,000 copies on PS3 in the first week of release, whereas UFC Undisputed 2010, which is obviously the UFC game that come out at the same time as Champion, that sold 327,000 on Xbox and 275,000 on PS3. So obviously, big jump in numbers there. You've got a lot of more people more interested in UFC, and that's probably why, because they realised twice as many sales on UFC. So we'll probably just, won't bother making Fight Night anymore, and we'll just carry on UFC. I can see their logic, but as a game developer, I don't think, and I'm probably I know I am being really naive when I say it, but I think that it shouldn't just be, it shouldn't just be all about sales. I mean, there should be a certain amount of pleasing your audience. I mean, EA Sports they must know that if they don't get back on Fight Night, then somebody else will do it. The thing is, if you're a small games development company, or if you're a games development company, then you're going to be skeptical about making a boxing game, because you've not only got to make a boxing game, you've got to make it better than the current one, which is a pretty good, you know, people will admit people are still playing it. Fight Night Champion is a pretty damn good boxing game, and it's going to take a lot to beat it, and I think only sort of EA Sports has got the power to make a more improved Fight Night, or a more improved boxing game, which is the sad thing with EA Sports having the monopoly of sports games at the moment. You know, there's no one that can really step in and, you know, upgrade the one that we've already got, which is the sad part about it. I can understand completely why they're working on UFC. They're obviously getting more money out of it, and that's what it's all about. It's all about the sales and getting the money. I understand that, but at the stage that EA Sports is at, they need to think about pleasing their current audience and, you know, giving them what they want, and people want another Fight Night game. It's pretty obvious. We've waited 4 years for an updated version, or, you know, just some updates, you know, anything just to keep the game alive. You know, people leave this game left, right and centre, and, you know, they come back to it because it's the only fighting game that really gives you that same like, if you just wanted to play a fighting game, then you could play Tekken or Mortal Kombat, but there's more to this game than just button bashing. You know, there's styles you can learn, and you develop, you become your own sort of fighter as time goes on. Whereas with sort of games like Tekken, it's just all about the combos, knowing the combos, and, you know, counter picking and stuff like that. And there's an element of that in Fight Night, don't get me wrong, but I think Fight Night's just that it's just that got that bit more complexity that makes it more enjoyable for me. And obviously having a background, a family background in boxing, it's just, I wouldn't want to play any other sort of fighting game, but it's sort of getting to the point where when I get, you know, onto the next gen fighting games, the only real option for me to bring to you guys is the latest UFC, which I'm fine with, but it's just the principle that I would much prefer it to be a boxing game. You know, preferably for my own enjoyment, I prefer to play boxing games, and I understand boxing as a sport, I understand it as a skill. I've never done MMA. I don't know the first thing about, you know, the buttons on UFC, to be honest with you. I don't know the submissions and stuff like that. So it's a whole new learning curve for me with UFC. And boxing, you know, all you need to do is tell me the buttons, and, you know, I'll be alright on a boxing game. So, you know, I sort of think, well, what sort of things could we have in this game if they were to update it tomorrow and we could have some magical updates? Well, first things first, you know, you'd want an updated roster of boxers, you know, add some of the new boxers on the horizon. You got some, you know, British fighters like Derek Chisora, you know, Tyson Fury, things like that. You know, you could have some of the American new heavyweights. I mean, all they've got to do is basically create the characters and implement them in the game. You know, it can't be too hard, considering there's like basically a boxer creator system in the game. A spectator mode would be great if you want to watch people fight. You know, if there was some sort of, say, like a prize fighter, or, well, I know there was prize fighter on this, but I mean more like online tournaments that you could just join up and it'd be easier. So, for example, you could join I don't know, like an 8-player tournament, and then you would see everyone in a list. Maybe you're all in like a lobby, perhaps like a FIFA lobby, where you can all talk to each other, and then it just pairs you up, and then like you have basically 4 fights, and then you have like a semi-final and then a final, and then the winner gets, I don't know, some sort of trophy or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is, you could just have little tournaments like that. And then if there was some sort of spectator mode where you could watch other people fight and maybe chat to them while they're talking, because one thing I've noticed on this game is people hardly ever talk. If you're on a mic on this game, you may as well not be, because nobody ever chats back. So, you know, something to make it a little bit more social, that'd be good. I did not mean to taunt then, by the way, on there. I was trying to switch my stance because I was trying to see if my guy was cut or not. I couldn't tell which Tyson it was me that was cut, but I couldn't see. But anyway, basically, yeah, I'd like to see a spectator mode, some sort of like online tournaments that like, not like serious tournaments for anything like money related, just like you basically click it and it just puts like 8 random players together, and then you all fight each other, and, you know, the winner comes out on top. And if your fight's over, then you can choose to spectate the other 2 or whatever, you know, stuff like that, like a bit like the Codcaster mode on Call of Duty or something like that. That'd be good. And just things like that, you know what I mean? Just small things would just, you know, make this game a little bit more enjoyable. It's a really lonely game to play, to be fair. You know, if you're playing this on your own, you're not going to be chatting to people, you're not going to make any friends, that's for sure, because you'll either beat somebody and then they'll be annoyed with you, or they'll beat you and then they'll send you some stupid message like an arsehole. So this, like I say, something to make this game a bit more social would be great. New boxes is a must, but I would really like to see a boxing game on the next gen, you know. Another thing maybe you could add, I just thought about, perhaps like some extra sort of settings when you make a custom game. Perhaps you could make it so you can't do power shots, or you can't do like specific punches, like you can't do a power straight, and obviously when the person enters the match it would show in the middle what handicaps each person set in place. Like I could say ban a power straight, you might decide to ban like a power hook or a power body shot or whatever, and you can just choose like one thing to ban. A little bit like League of Legends does. If you play League of Legends, you can choose if the other team has like a banned like hero, so they can't use a specific one if you're weak to something. I wouldn't mind something like that, so you can basically ensure that you don't get put against like spammers, like just spamming the straight, because you could just like set that in the start. Just things like that. I think if they listen to the community, and I think every Fight Night YouTuber that I've looked at, you know, there's at least one video that addresses spammers. You can argue that everyone that posts YouTube videos spams in a video, because it depends on how you look at it. If you're playing and you're spamming, you're in my head anyway, I'm usually doing it to counter their spam, which you can sort of say two wrongs don't make a right, but it's either that or lose. And you know, sometimes losing's, you know, sometimes I dislike losing more than I like winning sometimes. So I don't know, it's weird. Something that could stop the spammers, that'd be great. You know, like a thing where you could choose at the start to ban specific punches. That'd be good. A spectator mode, that'd be good for me. And new boxes. Any other suggestions, you know, leave them in the comments below. And you know, hopefully this video can at least be used as some rant. Hope you guys, you know, agree with me, or if you don't agree with me, in the comments, put it down below. Just tell us what you feel about it. Maybe someone from EA Sports will see this one day and make a new Fight Night, although I highly doubt it. But thanks for watching the video anyway, guys, and stay tuned. Bye bye.